Welcome to Sunshine Cathedral's Queer God Squad. It's Thursday, March 7th, 2024. I'm Reverend Dr. Darrell Watkins, the senior minister here at Sunshine Cathedral.
I am Reverend Dr. Robert Griffin, the executive minister. Faith and religion can be complicated for the LGBTQ+ community. Surveys show that evangelical faith is the justification for the greatest attacks on the LGBTQ+ community.
I am Reverend Kevin Tisdall, the Minister of Education. The Queer God Squad is going to explore our religious community. Let's explore the big news of the day and what it means to you.
I am Reverend Dr. Ann Atwell, the Minister of Connections. This is live, and then we are available on demand. We are available on all smart televisions and your favorite social media.
At Sunshine Cathedral, we are here to tell you that you are God's miracle, not God's mistake.
This is the Sunshine Cathedral perspective. After the death of Pope Francis, will the Catholic Church make a hard right? Amidst concerns over the health of Pope Francis, questions arise regarding the future direction of the Catholic Church, particularly in relation to LGBTQ+ inclusion and conservative backlash. At almost 87 years of age, Pope Francis has battled various health issues, including recent hospitalizations for abdominal and respiratory conditions. His tenure has been marked by efforts to make the church more inclusive and compassionate, evoking both praise and criticism. Conservative groups are upset with the Pope due to certain decisions like the removal of Cardinal Raymond Burke from his Vatican home and halting his salary. This happened because he opposed including LGBTQ+ people and women more fully in the church. In a recent defense of his decision to allow priests to bless same-sex couples, Pope Francis condemned hypocrisy within the church, asserting that love and compassion should transcend judgment. Francis has been steadfast in promoting inclusivity and hopes that critics will eventually understand and accept these changes. Amidst this ideological divide, Queer God Squad wonders about the direction of the Catholic Church once the Pope is no longer around, particularly concerning LGBTQ+ rights. Some queer-friendly churches in America, like Sunshine Cathedral of Fort Lauderdale, are contributing towards a better, more inclusive and accepting environment for everyone. But will this be enough? Some have suggested that, like Barack Obama becoming the first black U.S. president and the backlash we witnessed in America in 2016, we will experience a fundamental backlash and move to the hard right when a new pope is selected. That's a mouthful. And that's something that I've talked about around this table a couple of times. This pope is very different than the previous pope. And the backlash comes mainly, but quite often from the American branch of the Catholic Church. It is that branch that goes against the Pope's teaching more than anyone else. And I'm going to sound redundant if you've watched us over the months, but I always thought in the Catholic Church, I'm a Baptist, grew up Baptist, so what I know about the Catholic Church, I got from other people. But they told me, and are still telling me, that the Pope is God's spokesperson on earth. So if the Pope is supposed to be this guy who knows everything about what God believes in, then what in the heck is going on with those that are going against him? That's one question. And then in terms of backlash, yeah, it happens quite often. In my opinion, Clinton was the response to Bush and Reagan. Bush was response to Clinton, and we just can't go further. And then 2016. 2016, America had gone through 8 years of really good governance. A president who was a president for all people, but he looked different than a lot of Americans, and he spoke a different language than a lot of folk. And then this guy comes along and starts spewing venom that was in the closet. See, there are other things that are in the closet other than folk. This venom that people had was in the closet, and he allowed it to come forward and gave it voice and gave it a face. Never mind the face. But yeah, I do believe that the Catholic Church is going to look different when the Pope is no longer around. And I like that the Pope is doing as much as he can to put enough cardinals in place where the conversation may not be as radical as it could be if the conservative wing took over. But yeah, the church is different today than it was when Pope Francis started. It will be different once he leaves. And I think it's up to the masses to determine where this church goes. If the leadership of the church is going against the people, then how does that survive? How does a group like that survive if the people aren't even following them?
I think there's very little doubt that there will be political attempts to take the church back as close as possible to the Middle Ages. I hope that attempt fails, but only time will tell.
You know, you're saying the Pope has put in enough cardinals in place that will probably at least keep it hopefully in the middle or a little left of center, unlike someone else who stacked the Supreme Court.
Preach, brother.
And I think when you look at those dynamics where one is trying to do something that's about justice, one is trying to do something that's about just preserving themselves. And you can take from those examples, if you will, that even if when this Pope does transition, that I hope that there are enough goodwill people that will be left in place to say, you know what, this is about the teachings and examples that have been set before us, and let's continue on this path of including all people. I kind of like once the can is open, you can't put it back in. Once the genie's out of the bottle, you can't put it back in. Once you know what you know, you can't unknow it. Once you know what you know about someone and their behavior and their politics, you can't unknow it. And as my daddy would say, now you know what you need to do.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly right. You know, when I read this story, when I saw this story, the first thing that I thought of was Presbyterian Church, Methodist Church, churches that have actually split. Now, of course, the Roman Catholic Church is larger with a different dynamic and a different way of governing and that kind of thing. But it's probably not out of the realm of possibility that something like that could maybe occur. I don't know, where people are saying, you know what, now that I know what I know, I'm not going to go back. And others are going to say, you know what, we need to go back. That could create real division within the Roman Catholic Church. And maybe this is a telling time for them to really step back and take a look and see, do we need the Roman Catholic Church? If so, what's it going to look like? How do we be more inclusive?
There have been schisms and reformations before.
Absolutely, absolutely. This may be another telling time for them.
Never know.
That's Today with the Queer God Squad. We want to thank you for joining us. We're here daily at 3 p.m. to have some fun and to discuss what our LGBTQ plus community is talking about.
Sunshine Cathedral is the world's largest progressive queer church. Progressive, queer, and God are words that naturally should go together, and we are all in this together. Remember that.
You are God's miracle, not God's mistake.
Until next time, we are the Queer God Squad. Bye, everyone.